of fake news by taking you to India. With internet access increasing in rural areas and more people owning smartphones, the potential for fake news has been growing. And BBC research suggests a rising tide of nationalism in India is driving ordinary citizens to spread fake news. The phenomenon has also been blamed for attacks on innocent people. Straight to Delhi now, and our correspondent there, DEVINA GUPTA. DEVINA.
Well, right, as you rightly pointed out, that fake news has been a dangerous trend in the country with over 400 million smartphone users and cheap data, because spreading information is easy and so is spreading disinformation. Today in this news conference and a seminar organized by the BBC India, we saw interesting discussions with tech companies, representatives from Google and also from Facebook and Twitter coming out and talking about the need to control the spread of fake news through the social media. The heart of the problem, though, is that especially in rural India, where this is the first point of information and often people do not verify it. BBC India research also shows that people want to send out messages on national pride, on cultural pride, and on political identity, especially when they identify themselves with right-wing, and that's when they don't often want to check the facts before they disperse this news. And it all happens through smaller networks, be it on a WhatsApp group or people that you know on social media platforms like Facebook. We also spoke with some of the people around the country to know that do they actually check messages before they forward it on their phones to their friends, and here's what they had to say.
In our country, there are many news channels. They show something else and WhatsApp tells you something else, and in next day in the papers there is something else. So I think newspaper is more genuine news.
I have friends, like we discuss and then we always know whether a news is fake or not, and then whether it should be shared or not.
Especially in times like now when we're really dependent on alternate sources of information like social media and WhatsApp. It's very hard to understand what news is real and what is fake. The lines are really blurred.
I'm not much active on social media, and even if I have to share, I share my own personal photos. I don't share any news.
No.
You're not doing this?
No.
Why?
Because I think when you share something, you are responsible, you are passing a message, and that's why you have to be sure about the source.
It's just an immediate reaction that you just read something and you do this. Or sometimes also, if it's a sensational, it's something really funny or something really bizarre, then you feel the need to be the first person to say it. So unfortunately, I have done that.
I don't share messages or forward the messages which hurt people, religion, people thinking, or their personal views.
Most of the times political messages I don't share. The messages that I don't trust, I don't share.
I think stuff related to health issues, because I don't know, there are a lot of things they say if you do this gets better. I wouldn't share that particularly.
Well, mixed responses there. And to talk more about this research, I have with me Shantanu Chakrabarti, who is head of Audience Insight with the BBC World Service. Now, Shantanu, you had days and days of exhaustive interviews with people across 10 different cities in India. What is that one thing that caught your eye? Why is it that they don't want to check facts before dispersing messages?
Well, the interesting thing is that seems like it's something fundamental to human behavior, and not quite, as you were saying, it's anything to do with right wing or left wing. The idea is, if you have national pride, for example, you want to project that pride, and that's a completely understandable sentiment. And when you're projecting the pride you have in your nation, you are not really interested in fact-checking everything, especially when you have a literal digital deluge on your phones. You don't humanly have the time to sit and check facts, right? So we shouldn't get trapped into thinking people are, either ignorant or illiterate, or they simply don't care. They do care about the facts, but in that digital environment, coupled with this idea that you're projecting something that's integral to yourself, facts really don't appear. It's about something very deeply held.
So, and what you're talking is from your findings, of course, from urban India, and we've spent an entire day discussing and trying to find a solution. One of them has been tech companies like WhatsApp have put a forward label on each message, capping the number of forwarded messages to ensure that the frequency of disinformation is reduced. Has that helped?
Well, and yes or no answer would be misleading from the research, but we pick up some signs that it might not quite have worked in the way it was intended. Why? Because again, that paucity of time on digital, so you're making very quick decisions about should I consume, should I share, and in that case, who it sent it to you becomes a really important factor. It's all happening subconsciously, but someone sent it to you, that's someone you respect, you forward it on saying, it must be trusted.
So should there be like a star rating system so that the source of sending this information is identified as a credible source? Does that work?
Could be. I mean, I don't know if you're proposing Uber ratings for WhatsApp. I don't know if the relationship between the person who sends it to you and you is quite that of Uber. Could it work? I don't know. But ultimately, you're sending it on because you respect the person. Would the platform star ratings help? Hey, at this point in time, you try anything.
You could try, absolutely. And the last question, Indian findings are quite different from that of the African findings, and fake news is prevalent, but in a different form. If you could share some thoughts on that.
That's right. So it's not as much prevalent in the form of memes and GIFs and pictures and images that it's here. It's still much more in the form of classic old, text, classic, text rather than images. But the most interesting finding is that both in those countries, citizens are really interested in trying to find what's the original source, where did the content originated, in a way that they aren't in India.
Well, and that means at least if people are more aware, there could be a solution. But we here will continue tracking the fake news, and it has seen a lot of turnout of youngsters here. And that's perhaps the start when you start questioning what's real and fact from fiction. And that's the hope that we have in the seminar today.
Thank you very much for joining us, both of you from Delhi.